Rumors are swirling throughout the district, with growing belief around the league that the Wizards might move Jordan Poole around draft night. We're here to tell you why the pool party in DC needs to continue. That's now on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, this is Locked On Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day, as we are free. Part of the Locked On Network, it's your team every single day. Alongside DC Sports content creating savant and credentialed media member for the Washington Wizards, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, and I cover all things DC Sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Before we get started, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Abdullah, what a hectic day here around the nation's capital, with waking up to some really unsettling news for you and I, because us two, we're some Jordan Poole stans, and we have been getting into it with some of our fans over the past couple days about this polarizing subject. Well, our guy, Rafael Barlow from NBA Big Board, he reports today that there is belief around the league that the Washington Wizards are very heavily considering moving on from Jordan Poole around draft night or at some point this summer. I just wanted to gauge your temperature here, your first thoughts on this.
Yeah, this is something that I've been getting into recently, but I just didn't want to believe in it. But it's just, to me, it's absurd. Jordan Poole has a career year, and now you put him on the trade block. And again, I would understand it if there's a possibility of you landing Trey Johnson at 6, but I think that those odds are really, really slim. I'm not a big fan of drafting Jeremiah Fears, guys. I think I've made it clear to Ben. I made it clear to all of you guys listening. I'm not a big fan of Jeremiah Fears. I mean, who knows? Maybe the guy proves me wrong and becomes the next Steph Curry or Russell Westbrook. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Jordan Poole, from day one as a Wizard to now, has gotten way better, limited the turnovers, got better defensively, had that six-man role given by Coach Keeve, and he got humbled. And it is what it is. 26 years old, he's not even 26 yet. He's about to turn 26 years old, and he's about to enter his prime. And if you're the Wizards, if you look at the numbers last year, it was close to all-star range, but winning, that's what really held him back. I think Jordan Poole got better as a leader, and it's kind of, I don't want to say a slap in the face, but I just thought he could have been given the keys to the city. And knowing Will Dawkins, it's a possibility, because last year you trade Denny Avdija come draft night and draft Bub Carrington, which, still looking back, is a win-win trade for both sides. I don't know, man, this is frustrating.
Yeah, I feel you on this, because I think Jordan Poole has become a real voice in that locker room for these young players, which is crazy to say because he's 25 years old, but this is a guy that has won an NBA championship, already been part of a major blockbuster trade after what happened, a really tumultuous moment of his career when he gets into it at practice with Draymond Green. He overcomes that, which I think says a lot about him mentally as a player. And like you said, getting humbled by head coach Brian Keefe, going to the bench. And I think that first game they played against Denver, and he came off the bench and straight cooking, and he has not looked back since then. And the last year for this Wizards team, just what he was able to do from beyond the arc. He shot it just under 40% from three-point range, and he served as that facilitating guard that can just get you buckets for this Wizards team. They didn't have anybody on the floor other than Jordan Poole that could create his own shot as well as he could and stretch the floor as a three-point shooter. You and I touched on this yesterday, that this team lacks a lot of depth, I'd say, for guys that can shoot the ball from beyond the arc very well. We're hoping that Keyshawn George can emerge as one of those players, but we need a guy that can create his own shot off the bounce to be our guard. And I know as a Wizards fan, it's so easy to fall in love with a guy that was drafted in the first round a year ago in Bub Carrington, but I need to see more from him as a shot creator. I think one of the things that he struggled with, and I've had a lot of conversations with people that cover the Wizards very closely that have also agreed that he struggled to create his own shot off the bounce at times. Yes, extremely young player, only at 19 years old. I really think there's a ton of room for his game to develop. He also is an elite shooter. But I think Poole has a dynamic with the way he can create his own shot off the dribble that you don't see around the NBA that often. He is a very rare and special talent, and he is just an entertaining ball of energy for this Wizards team. I have such a hard time getting through the idea of getting rid of him. I have major reservations. I think the Poole party absolutely needs to continue. I think he could be the point guard of the future here in DC. I have seen so many great things from him, not just in Washington, but what he accomplished even in Golden State. He got that contract for a reason. He's one of the better players at shot making in the entire NBA, and the Wizards better be getting a insane haul for him if they are dealing him.
Yeah, I was going to transition to that. I'm sorry, but you need at least minimum 2 first-round picks. The value is at all-time high right now. He was a borderline all-star this past season. It came down to wins, and obviously the Wizards didn't meet that criteria. You can't sell him for anything less. At what his value is right now, I don't think it's going to get any higher.
Yeah, so Greg Finberg released a story today for Bullets Forever. Be sure to check that out. Check out his work as well on Twitter at Greg Finberg, and check out his article at Bullets Forever. He detailed it very well today, and he said to move on from Poole, he says Washington would need at least 2 first-round picks. He said the issue, though, is he doesn't believe there's a team that's willing to pay that price, and for that reason, he doesn't think a Jordan Poole deal comes together anytime soon, meaning, obviously, as we get closer to draft day here in a couple weeks. And reading that gives me a little bit of reassurance here, and I appreciate Greg for diving into that and kind of being the voice that I was looking for in this situation, because there's a lot of Wizards fans out there, some of you that are listening, that are totally okay with it. You want to trade Jordan Poole for maybe 1 first or a couple of different veteran players that get mixed in here, maybe a couple of young guys, maybe similar situation to we saw in the Kyle Kuzma trade to get a player like A.J. Johnson. But Jordan Poole is a young talent. This is not an old veteran that we're talking about here. He is 25 years old. He has not even scratched the surface of how good he can be, especially in a Wizards uniform, as they continue to get better each and every year. Here under Will Dawkins, I would love to see him paired alongside whoever they get in this draft. If they do get a guy like Trey Johnson at 6, if he is somehow there, I need to see that connection. If you get a guy, come on, Malawach, another elite big man that you can get for this Washington team, to see him on the floor, setting screens for Jordan Poole eventually at some point, catching lobs from Poole. I need to see all of that. I need Jordan Poole to be on the floor for the Wizards for the foreseeable future.
Yep, and for those of you that are listening, we're not biggest fans of Jordan Poole, how his tenure started off in Washington. I understand, but you got to give the man credit where credit is due. He got better. That's what I love to see, especially, and I'll keep emphasizing, he is a young guy. Averaged last season his personal best in points, assists, and steals per game. When, again, we talk about showcasing his signature shot creation, and again, his fearless mentality. That game winner against Denver, I mean, who else on this Wizards team right now is taking that shot? Poole party. Like, I get it.
I had to break out the celebration right there.
Yeah, no, Ben, it's frustrating. The shots that he takes, it's like, only Steph Curry can take those shots. But once he starts making them, and he's obviously limiting those shots compared to how he started in DC, what can you say? Like, I don't understand. People want to call him inefficient. The numbers don't. Men lie, women lie. Stats don't lie, Ben. That's the reality of the situation. Jordan Poole got better from day one to now, present day, June 11th on Wednesday. It's just, if you're the Wizards, how, and like, you really think, and maybe that you want to, you care about the development of the young guys, but you need a leader in this locker room, and I think Jordan Poole can be that guy.
Yeah, exactly, because you're not running out a lineup of purely rookies and second-year players and expecting to win much, because look at the proof in the pudding in how Washington fared last year. You have obviously the youngest lineup in all of the NBA, and you have 3 rookies that are pretty much in the starting lineup, 18, 19 years old, whatever it is, the youngest lineup on average. And the inexperience, that shows a lot for these teams. If you have a team that just consists of first and second year players, they're going to find themselves in a lot of games because of the talent that's there, whether it's Alex Sarr, who's having a big night like he did in the second half of the season, or Bilal Coulibaly starts to develop his game offensively. That's something we'll touch on later in this episode when we play a little bit of buy or sell. But in these cases, inexperience matters, and it comes back to bite you, especially when you play a very seasoned team in the Eastern Conference, a team that has a ton of postseason experience, a team that is filled with veterans. That kind of stuff matters. And I think having a guy like Poole, even though he is only 25 years old, been around the league for quite a bit at this point, he is a veteran player who has proven what he is worth in this league. I think you need that guy. You need that voice in the locker room.
Yeah, 1,000%. Don't trade Jordan Poole. And if you do, you better get some good compensation in return, or a lot of Wizards fans like me are going to be pretty upset.
With all this talk of trades, it does get me thinking, will the Wizards eventually swing to acquire a superstar player via the trade? Let's talk about it next. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds, it's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. I mean, I know a lot of you listening were there when John Wall jumped on the scorer's table in Game 6, or when Kelly Oubre pushed down Kelly Olynyk, who came back to bite us. And how could you forget the pandemonium in the building in that series against Boston in 2017? This year's matchups are already delivering, and if you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. I was just on the app looking at Nationals tickets for Friday because Nelly is performing after, and Zone Deals were offering 60% off in great sections. You just can't beat that. With a Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row and section, they'll credit 110% of the difference. The NFL schedule release just dropped, and you better believe I'm already looking at when I get to see JD5 and the Commanders play in person again. You'll find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. Given how hot the Commanders tickets will be this year, I'd get on that as soon as possible. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed. And we welcome you back here to Locked On Wizards. Time for the second segment of the show here for this Thursday edition of Locked On Wizards. I'm your host, Ben Strober, alongside Abdullah Ayubi. And we've been talking a lot about trades here in this episode because of the potential of the Wizards moving on from Jordan Poole. We don't want that to happen. However, something that has me thinking is that I'd like to see this Wizards franchise, maybe not this year, maybe not next year even, but eventually take a big swing for the fence and trade for a superstar player. The same mold that we have seen from the Indiana Pacers, who get Tyrese Halliburton, who has emerged into a superstar. I mean, this is the time of recording right here after Game 3. Oh my goodness. The Pacers in that game, and Tyrese Halliburton was just unbelievable. A complete flip from what we saw in Game 2. And that's beside the point right now. All I'm saying right here is that I'd like to see Washington take a swing at some point and trade for its superstar player, because I don't know if right now or even after the draft, if the Wizards are going to have a bona fide superstar on the roster. Abdullah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, man, I've been saying it for a while. I call it the Donovan Mitchell-like move, where in Cleveland, they trade a lot of those young assets to acquire Donovan Mitchell. I get the Cavs really haven't won a championship or been to the Eastern Conference Finals. It is what it is, but winning in the regular season, that's the first step of getting into the playoffs for the Wizards. And you're going to have the ability to do that because all the young guys that you have on this team. And on top of that, you have boatloads of second-round picks. And that's what we saw Will Dawkins do in OKC. His 15 years there in OKC, it was acquiring a lot of young guys, developing them. But then eventually when you reach that point where you trade all your superstars, you get the young assets, you draft capital, you build from there, and then you trade them. And if you're the Wizards, there's going to be a moment in time where we're going to be thinking to ourselves as Wizards fans, do we have a problem of too much talent here in Washington? Which is absurd to say saying if we said this 2 years ago, I'd be like, yo, what do you mean by that? But right now, as we stand, the Wizards are going to have a lot of young guys on this team. Pick 6, pick 18. And on top of that, more second-round picks. And even on more top of that, maybe, who knows, you get a guy in the Capital City Go-Go like you did with Jordan Goodwin, like you did with Justin Champagnie. So the Wizards, there's a lot of young talent here with the draft capital. And eventually, once you want to make that move to put you apart from the other teams in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have to call it up and say, hey, give us your superstar and we'll trade this guy, and draft capital, and you can afford to do it.
Yeah, I think playing time could actually become a problem for the Wizards at some point, given all of the young players that are going to be on the roster here. A boatload of draft picks that are being stacked up by this Wizards organization, and I guess it's going to depend what happens here with Jordan Poole in this situation, because like you and I said, you better at least get 2 first-round picks for Jordan Poole. And if that's the case right there, I mean, you can kind of store that in your back pocket potentially, depending on what years those picks are for. If they're for in the future down the road a little bit, and there's so many things that are in play, these pick swaps with Phoenix, which might turn into some pretty good picks, because Phoenix is trending down. That was me trying to make a sound effect of going down. I don't think I did it that well. I tried. But anyways, Phoenix is going down. They're a disaster. Bradley Beal has been a disaster there. Thank goodness we were able to ship him off and absolutely fleece him to use that arsenal. If the Wizards do get extra picks from a trade from Jordan Poole, which you and I don't even want to happen at this point, but that would at least give me some confidence maybe that the Wizards are going to have all of the ammunition needed to go out and take a big swing and get a superstar player or get somebody that is a necessity for whatever the team's need is in a year where they're finally competing again. We have seen the Wizards in the past make moves to get players of need around the deadline. If you remember back to 2017, Bogdanović comes to this Wizards organization as a guy that they needed to come off the bench, give him quality minutes as a three-point shooter. And Abdullah, you posted a guy a couple days ago. Remember Will Bynum? You said, can you name this Wizard? And it was Will Bynum. That was someone that they acquired in a trade at some point later in that year. And Will Bynum became a serviceable guard off the bench for the Wizards. So whether it's trading for a superstar or just a player of need at that time, having these picks in your back pocket is what the Wizards can use as arsenal at this point.
Yeah, and if we look at next year's draft class, I made a video a while ago talking about
saw
it.
that, yeah.
There's a lot of talent, Ben. I mean, AJ DeBonza, Darren Peterson, Nate Ahmed. The list goes, the Boozer twins. Who knows? You have so much draft capital that even if you, and knowing how the Wizards luck, you're not going to get a top 5 pick next year. You can trade up into that draft and get a superstar, a future superstar. A lot of options on the table, and that's what I love about this Wizards organization and the front office, that last year we saw them cook in a weak draft class, hitting on all 3 first-round picks. And on top of that, you get a guy in A.J. Johnson who can jump out of the gym. How can you not be optimistic in this front office right now?
Yeah, and, to my point about having all these picks, they have so many of them right now. I don't even have the exact number. But if they acquire even more, they have to be using those picks for something. They can't draft every single player. They can't use all those draft picks to draft players. Those are going to have to be packaged somewhere at some point to be part of some kind of deal. And I think that's strategic of Will Dawkins. I think when you get all these draft picks for the future, the end-all, be-all goal when you acquire that many is that you put them, you store them away. That's why so many of them are so many years down the road. And then you're able to, in turn, use those when you are ready to compete and acquire whatever player or superstar you need at that time. I absolutely think that is the strategic plan that we've seen here from Will Dawkins. There are too many picks to go around, and at some point, something's got to give, and they're going to have to get dealt around.
Yep, and you also have veterans on this team where, and I love Marcus Smart, I love Chris Middleton, and Sadiq Bey hasn't even played a game yet, and before he got hurt, he was averaging, I think, 15 to 20 points per game. So there's an interesting group here in Washington, and for me, there might be down the line where one of these young guys of this young core might have to be dealt with in order to get an all-star caliber player to eventually contend in the Eastern Conference.
Abdullah, the microphone is on fire tonight. Let's have some fun in the final segment. A little game of buy or sell between Abdullah and I is up next here on Locked On Wizards. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you are wanting to update your patio this season, WayFair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that it feels like yours. Comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. WayFair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space. Conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like giving your backward that resort feel without the resort price tag. I recently picked up a new outdoor dining set and some modern lounge chairs, and they completely transformed my patio. Now, whether I'm hosting friends or just unwinding with a book, it genuinely feels like I'm at my own private retreat. Don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today. And with WayFair, enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WayFair.com. WayFair. Every style, every home. Welcome you back for the final segment here of Locked On Wizards. Ben Strober here with Abdullah Ayubi. We've been burning it up here for the first couple of segments, talking about trade talks with Jordan Poole and the potential of trades for this Wizards team in the future to go get a superstar. Let's play a game, though, right now. We're going to play buy or sell. So how this works, Abdullah, is I'm going to ask you a question, or you're going to ask me the question, and it's going to be about the Washington Wizards going on in the future here. And we're going to have to decide, do we buy or sell if this happens? How about you go first?
And this is looking ahead, Ben, but do you buy or sell that the Washington Wizards will win the upcoming Summer League?
Buy. I'm absolutely buying it. I'm buying it 100 times right now, and I've talked about that this morning. They are going to have one of the most stacked Summer League rosters I've ever seen. I've never been so excited to watch this Wizards team play in the Summer League because you're going the OKC route right here. And my God, I've said the OKC route maybe 10 times this week. But really, they're going the OKC route. You have all these young guys playing in the Summer League. I know that brings into the question, how much do you want to see guys like Alex Sarr play? And I think he does need the minutes in the Summer League. It's perfect for him to work on his offensive game, work on stretching the floor. Look, last year, the Summer League was for the growing pains. He goes 0 for 15 in the game, and he didn't do that in the regular season, did he? Everyone wanted to say he was a bust over the Summer League. He was just working on things, and that's what is going to continue to happen. So you see him, Keyshawn George, Bob Carrington, and whatever two guys they pick up in the first round here and a couple of other, two-way talents that they have on this Wizards roster, or two-way contracts, I should say. It's going to be a really, really nasty Summer League. If those guys are all playing for the majority of the league's play throughout the summer, I absolutely think that they'll win this thing. I would have the expectation that they're at least very competitive to win the whole thing. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if they don't, but I'm really looking forward to watching and seeing the development.
I was going to ask you, Ben, and I completely agree that the roster is going to be stacked. But if there was one guy that you just don't want to put him out there just because I think we've seen enough and might be risk of an injury, who do you think? For me, I'm kind of in between Bub and Alex Sarr.
Ooh, this is a good one. I don't even have an answer to this right now because I think the easiest choice would be to say Bilal because he's going into his third season, but I think there are a lot of aspects of his game offensively that he could benefit from playing in the Summer League from. So, man, I don't know. I'm TBD on that one, I guess. I'll have to think about this one a lot more. But I got a question for you, buy or sell. Do you buy or sell that the Wizards make a trade to move up or down at some point in this upcoming draft?
So today we saw the rumors of Jordan Poole potentially being dealt. Definitely going to get some draft capital out of this, and I think it'll be, if it happens, hopefully it doesn't, but if that does happen, you'll get draft capital in this year's draft. You get the 18th pick, 6th pick. You got to be flexible. And I genuinely think at 6, if Trey Johnson's gone, if the board falls as it is, I think you have to threaten Brooklyn and say, hey, we know you're a big fan of Jeremiah Fears. Trade back with us. So I'm buying it. To answer your question, I'm buying it. I think trading up and trading down, it's very much of a possibility just because of the track record of Will Dawkins. His aggressiveness come draft night. I think this year's draft, he's going to be more aggressive than last year's draft. And last year's draft, he dealt a guy in Deni Avdija who, I'll keep saying it, was supposed to be that number one guy here in DC. And Will Dawkins is like, hey, I like this guy out of Pitt. And Bub Carrington, game winner, the last game of his rookie season. It's been panning out. Win-win trade. It's going to happen, whether it's trading up or trading down. And who knows? Maybe Derek Queen falls, Tom Malawach falls, and you get that big that you pair up with Alex Sarr.
All right. Keep it going.
All right, Ben. We've been talking about it the whole day. I've been talking about it for a while. Jordan Poole, JP13, our guy. Do you buy or sell that Jordan Poole will be a Washington Wizard after the 2025 NBA draft?
I think he will. I think he will be a Washington Wizard because I ultimately don't think they're going to get those 2 first-round picks. That would seem like the asking price. I think he's too talented at this point with the value at an all-time high for Jordan Poole, and I just don't think the front office is going to be willing to depart with him for anything less than that. So, easy answer right there for me. Jordan Poole will be a Wizard next year.
Let's go.
All right, do you buy or sell that Bilal Coulibaly increases his offensive production to 15 or more points per game next season?
Buy. I'm telling you guys, when Bilal was given the opportunities, the minutes, we saw the day after, less than 24 hours after Kyle Kuzma got dealt, first career triple-double against the Brooklyn Nets. I can't emphasize it enough. I told a lot of people that I know that once you dealt with those veterans, and I'm not gonna lie, Kyle Kuzma altered the development of Bilal Coulibaly because again, there were times where when Bilal was given the rock, when he was given the keys, he was cooking. But one thing for sure that he has to fix, jump shot. You got to get better at that. I think a lot of mechanics have to go into that. I think he has to be more confident. Take it to the lane. He is so freaking explosive, and he's only going to grow taller as well. The athleticism is off the charts. He's already there as a great defender, and we're talking about his offensive game. I definitely think he'll hit that 15 points per game production. I'm buying it, and it all goes back to being confident. And right now, you're that guy here in DC. You're one of the oldest guys in a young core, which is insane to say because he's 20, 21 years old. But he's got something to prove, and I think he's going to prove why he's the cornerstone piece here in Washington. And now, for me to ask you, talk about young guys, I'm going to go to Alex Sarr. Do you buy or sell the fact that Alex Sarr will increase his offensive production to 20 points per game? I know it's a lot.
I'm going to sell on that one, and not to say that I don't think he's going to improve, because I think he's going to improve big time, but in more facets of his game than just offense. I think he has already proven himself as a very good defender in the NBA, a guy that can protect the rim really well. I do want to see his rebounding numbers go up. 6.5 last year. I think he gets that up to around 9 or 10 rebounds per game. I think that would be a big difference in what Washington's trying to do, try to save more possessions and not allow more second chance opportunities for opponents. I think his offensive game does improve overall. 20 might be a bit big of an ask, especially because I think they're going to take some weight off his shoulders here at some point in this draft, landing a different big to pair alongside of him. I think that will take some of the offensive expectation maybe off of him, but I do think his production goes up. I could see him averaging around 17 or 18 points per game. I think 20 seems like a little much for him, but overall improvements as a player as a whole, and I think that's a great thing for Alex Sarr going forward for next year.
Definitely.
All right, last one real quick. Do you buy or sell the Wizards win over 30 games next year?
As much as I love my Wiz kids, I'm going to have to sell that 30 win mark. I think a lot of things have to go perfect in order to hit those 30 wins. Because, again, 18 wins this past year, 15 the year before. To go from 18 to 30, it's quite of a jump. And you still have a lot of young guys on this team. And who knows who gets dealt. And if you trade Jordan Poole, I mean, that's going to really affect the win total as well. Because, again, he was a big part of getting, even though it was 18, he was still a big part of getting those 18 wins. So I think ideally it would be awesome to hit 25 wins. I think you have to hit 20. But 30, I think a lot of things have to go perfect. So, unfortunately, I have to sell there.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you. It's going to be difficult for them to take that big of a leap, I think, in next year. But I think the team will overall be much improved. We flew through these 30 minutes. A lot of fun here today. Moral of the story, let's keep the pool party going here in D.C. D.C. family, thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We thank you for tuning in to Locked On Wizards for another episode. We will be back with even more tomorrow. We are just getting started here in the district. We'll catch you next time. For Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. This has been Locked On Wizards.
Keep Jordan Poole, please. Sorry, Ben.